Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you Programming with Shadow, episode 45. In today's video, we are going to be building a movie watch list. So the idea here is it's just going to be a fairly simple list of movies, and we'll have some stats. I'm going to put the year of the movie, a rating, review, and we're going to just use that to play around with reading and writing the files. So one thing I did is I went ahead and moved over the menu class. So I've got a workspace here. I've got some files. So we'll look at the files because I'm going to move them around just a little bit. But I copied over the menu and menu item, and here's the values for the menu item. So view all movies, add a movie, toggle watched, and save and exit. So my idea here is it's going to load automatically and then save automatically. What we're going to find very quickly is that I've got a lot of commented out code. So I actually did this recording already once, but I accidentally muted myself like 8 minutes in, and I was like, nah, it would be easier just to redo it at this point. But I'm going to keep what we've got here, and we'll see if this flows a little better. So we'll talk about what this class is, what all these classes are as we go, and we'll make some adjustments. So first thing, I'm going to get rid of these. I haven't decided if I will use these. We probably will, but we'll add them when we need them. So just have fewer ones. So let's talk of CSV first. So CSV stands for comma separated value, and there's all kinds of standards on them. So in reality, there's not really a good standard. So we're going to treat this as I'm wanting to. So I'm doing a title, a year, a watch, which is true or false, a rating, and a review. So those are going to be my categories. So this is called a header. So this is the CSV header. You can also have a separator above. I think Excel does that. So you can have like SEP equals and then what your separator is, so it doesn't have to be commas. I used commas here because I wanted to play around with this. So this first one here is just a very simple. We have a title, a movie. We have the year it was made. We have true. Then we have a rating of 100 and then a good. So the second one we did the same thing, 1980. False. I'm saying I haven't watched this, although I actually have. And since I haven't watched it, I gave it a rating of -1, which I'm using that to represent no rating, basically. So -1 is no rating, 0 to 100 is values, and anything above 100 or below -1 is invalid. And then here's a review. My review's nothing, it's just a play around. So I put a review here, though, with some commas and some quotes. So what I wanted to say is this. There's what I wanted to say. So the deal with quotes, or the commas inside, you really need to do something to them. So what I'm doing is escaping them. And in this case, we're going to see our parser. We don't actually care, but I'm going to escape them like this. I'm going to put quotes around the entire thing. Now there's a problem. There's quotes inside. So is this the first part and then this the second part? Hard to tell. So what you do there is you add a second quote in front of the inner ones. So now the quotes are escaped and the commas escaped. And at that point, we're good. Another way to do this is that you could use another character, like one I've used before is a pop character. It's above the enter key on your keyboard. You press shift and then a forward slash. There's that backslash. Whichever slash this is, you get a pop character. And a lot of times that one's maybe a little better, at least from how I would think about it, because then it's less likely to come up. But doing this way, you can also do it like this and just escape it, and then you need to know your rules and adjust for them. So that's a comma separated values, CSV. So what we're going to write is we are not going to write a reader. Let's delete that one. We'll delete that. So we're going to write a parser. So the difference in a reader and a parser, the reader would read in the file and then parse it. The parser is just going to do the parsing part of it, and we're going to read in the main program. So let's adjust this to be a little clearer. So let's do a model first. If I go to add a new folder, we'll say models. There's only one model, and it is movie. We can check if that worked right, but I think it did. Yeah, it did. Good. We'll create another folder. Let's call this one IO. IO stands for input output. So we'll say well, we're not doing it input output. We'll do let's say CSV. So this is where we'll put our writer and parser, I guess. I think that'll make more sense. There we go. All right. So there's just a little cleaner. Menu and program sort of go together in whatever group they go. We could have a separate maybe data or something for the movie. Here you can even see Visual Studio knows it's some kind of special file, so it marked it with an Excel tab. All right. Let's see what we've got. So we've got the menu. As I said, I didn't change anything here. I don't know what that was. I didn't change anything here, so we can remove the necessary usings. So this, if you look back at their simulation from a couple weeks ago, this is the simulation. I haven't changed anything in here except I just deleted those lines there and I changed the namespace. Other than that, I'm pretty sure I didn't have to touch anything here. Menu item, I changed it so what we're going to need, I'm going to have a command to view all movies, one to add a movie, one to toggle watched, and one to save and exit. And that's just movie CSV. So the data file, we're going to need to copy it to the output directory. So we've seen this before, but all you do is you right click here, go to properties, and go to copy, and it should default to never or do not copy. I'm going to copy always. And that puts it here in the CS branch. I didn't mean to close that one. Oh well. So there's just a menu item and a menu. So next I went to go work on the program. I'm trying to make sure, or no, let's do movie next. The movie. So movie is what's known as a model, a data object. So all it's holding is data and giving me a way to format the data. That's this toString. So I can comment these out. Control K, Control U there. Now I have some different fields. We'll set some defaults. That one's fine. That one's nullable. So what I'm saying here is that these four will have a value. It may be a default value, but they will have a value. Review won't. Review will start as null, and we can add it in if we want. So now let's uncomment this one. So this is to make it easier for us to display the values. So this looks complicated, so let's break it down. So it's only returning a single string. So I could do a control dot and use an expression body, and that would be valid. I actually don't like reading that in this case because it is so big. So let's look at what we do. So I give a title, put in parentheses the year, dot year. So year's a date time, so the dot year is the one that will actually grab the actual date. And I put a minus here just to separate the areas. So all this is going to be on one line. So right here's where I messed up. So the first one here I hit on the number row. So the -1 I hit on the number row to set the default value. Down here for some reason I just hit it on the number pad. Number pad button is my mute on my microphone, so I accidentally muted myself about this point and then spent the next 40-50 minutes talking to myself basically. So I'm not going to do that this time, so we're just going to keep going. So I concatenate the next part. So the only reason I did this was to make it more readable what I'm doing. So what I could do here is I could separate these out into separate variables and actually do it as a longer script. I was just doing this because I I actually don't mind this in this case. You can see what it's doing at least. It's adding it, it's concatenating each of these to the list. So watched. So if the watch is true, it says watched or unwatched. Easy enough. And then here rating, if rating is greater than 1, it does the rating something out of 100, else it skips it. That should be 0 though, so there is a bug I didn't catch yesterday or earlier. So there, so I'm saying 0 to 100 is valid. Let's say that too. And rating less than 101. So there. So add a rating, and then here, if it's not null, we add review or we add an empty string. Possibly we should not add that space there at the end, actually. Guess we had 2 spaces. Yeah, let's adjust that. So we add a rating, otherwise it's empty, or we add a review. And it'll get a space in front of it. We'll do it like that instead. So what I'm doing here, we'll just say empty string. We'll remove that one as well. And we'll remove that one. Okay. So I think I like that better. So now it only adds the spaces if we need it. All right. There's just a toString. So what we'll be able to use for that is when we're actually displaying the list, we'll be able to say, okay, show me this list. So there's just a model, and we can clear these since we're not going to use them. So one thought I had here for actually writing to the file was I could have a do CSV here as well, and it could do the formatting. So I'll think about that because I may consider that, or I may do it in its own class. So we'll see. I think I like the class better because it's handling the formatting for the CSV, but maybe it makes sense for the movie to give its own CSV format. I think it doesn't though, so maybe not. This one's a little different because it's doing a displayable, but maybe in that case you would want it to just have this in whatever viewer you're doing. So instead of that, you would do it in program. That may be better design overall. So we're gonna step over to the program though and take a look at it. So sometimes this is called a driver. So here's one thing, I copied this function over as well because we're going to use it. So press a key so it just writes a line to the file. Press any key to continue and read key. If we remember, the false in read key means intercept, and we're saying don't intercept. So that means when you type a key, if you don't intercept it, it'll put it onto the screen. If you don't intercept it, it will put it on the screen. Since we're intercepting it, it won't display them. After that, we got a little bit more here. Here's our load method. We'll start here. So we'll start with the file name, so movies.cs. So we're hard coding the file name, so it won't be able to change. There's other ways you could do that. There's better ways, but we'll do that for the time being. Now we create our menu. We give it a custom name, movie watch list. Now we add some options. So these are the same options. Oops, Control K, Control U. So these are the same options from the menu item, just a little bit more user visible. So we add the menu items. Now we create a menu item. Now we're also going to create where we load our values. So this load watch list. So it returns a list of movies. So this is where we're going to do the file read. So we'll do Control K, Control U. Yeah, writer here may be better to say formatter maybe. But yeah, let's look through what we've done here. the, there we go, fix that warning. So here we read all lines. So this is the method from before, and we could use one of the other specialized ones. I think in this case, read all lines is going to be fine. So what we're doing is every time we load the program, we're just going to read the lines into memory. If we got a really long list, we may want to adjust that, but I would say for most reasons, this would be fine. Here I create a list to hold the values we're going to create. Now I do something we haven't seen before. So this is another one of the LINQ methods, the LINQ extensions. So what this does is well, as I said, is skip one skips the CSV header. So if we go back over to our header, we have this here. We don't want to create a movie for it because it's just information. That makes this file a little more user editable, so a user could write this and add stuff manually to the file if they wanted. They could add it in Excel or something. So that's all that's doing, is helping you out with that. But we don't want to create a movie for it, so we skip it. And that's all this does. It just skips the first number, and you can pick any number. Like you can put more numbers there. Like if we wanted to skip the first 5, you could skip the first 5. But we grab each line of the file content, each movie, and then we pass it to the parse line method in the movie parser. It's a static method because we don't need the class here. We're not storing data. After we get the movie from the parser, we just add it, and then we return the movie list when we're done. Let's look at the parse line. So this is the main method of parsing. So I copied here the movie CS so I didn't have to keep referring back. So let's start with this line. So here's our string split method that we've seen many times before. I'm splitting on a comma, and I'm saying there's 5 fields. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not 5 fields. Oh, okay, so I made a mistake here when I copied this. So this one is missing a rating. So we had 100 and -1. So I just muted myself again, but this time I called it. So ignore that. There, so added a -1 there. So now there's 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th one's optional though, so I would want to see what this does if there's no 5th line. Let's add another movie. Let's add the last one. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. False. No. Date 19. I'm going to guess 82, but I'm going to have to look that up. $83 off of the year. All right, we're going to say -1 just for the sake of it. We're going to say false and -1. We're going to leave off the last comma. So let's see what that does. I didn't try this before, so seems like a good enough adventure here to press F9. And let's just take a look real quick. So we'll just run it in debug mode. There are errors now. We need to create a movie. This fine. So create the movie and return it. So it'll be an empty movie, so it won't work, but we can at least see what our split here does. The first one split. Looks good. Second one split. Looks good. Looks a little odd, but we'll see why that's all right in a minute. Didn't do the last one. I didn't do the last one. Did I remove my breakpoint? Oh. That was dumb. 1, 2, 3. Third one. 4 fields. Okay, that works. So that's what I was expecting it to do, but we actually didn't try that last time. We were running a little short on time by that point. All right. So there we go. So theirs was split, and it does what we hoped it would do. All right. So now we need to fill out fields for the movie, and we'll do some validation there. So the first one, I'm going to say any string is valid in this case. In fact, we need to do one more check. So we need to do a if fields length is less than 4, throw some error. So that's saying there's not enough fields. So that brings us to this, and this is something I don't think I showed before, but it's really easy. We made a custom exception. So the custom exception is called a parsing exception. So what you do is you create the exception, and you pass it, or you make it inherit from the system exception class. So there's 3 constructors. I only picked one to override here. The one that takes a message and it passes the message down the base. That lets us customize their exception message. So here I will say throw new parsing exception. We'll say invalid count of fields in line. We'll just put the line here. There. We'll do something like that. So that lets us pass an exception with that value now. So now if we accidentally remove that, there we go. We got a CSV parsing exception. Invalid count of fields in line. Stuff like that. Well, so that's how you can use a custom exception. Go undo that. Not press -1 so I don't mute myself. All right, back over to the parser. So let's continue filling out. So the title's easy. We just fill it with a 0 for the first field. So it's this one because we separated on commas. For the second one here, we need to parse out the year. Okay, Control U. All right. So this one looks a little more complex, and that's because it is. We're doing some validation to the field here because this one has something. So we're going to do the int try parse and success just so it doesn't throw out the int year field. So if it's not a success, we throw an exception. Year field could not be converted to a valid year. Or if the year is this or this. If the year field is less than 1800, or if the year is greater than 9999. If we look back over at the movie class, I believe, yeah. So it goes all the way back to 1, but there's no movie that early. As far as I could see, the earliest might have been like the 1880s. So that seems all right for the list here to me. So fitting it from there to the end of Microsoft time. Completed a brace. Yeah, so we throw an exception for any of those cases. If you notice now, since that was a mistake, I can drop them. Now, if it's not a success, or the year is less than 1800, or the year is greater than 9999, throw the exception. And here we set it as a year field, and we set it's a date time, so it takes a year, a month, and a day. I don't care about the month and day, so I'll just set them to January 1st. We won't actually, that's one thing we have to keep in mind though, is that when we actually do it, we won't actually use that. So that could be case if you were really concerned, you could do make a your own year class and only accept the valid values. Could do something like that if you wanted. We're just going to ahead and take date time though. So the next field, the handle, is the watched field. So here, I just grab it and make it 2 lower, and then I say if it's true, true, false, false. And I throw an exception, expected the watch field to be true or false, but found whatever the value they put in. So what else you could do here, we could also do this. I actually sometimes like when programs do this, so have a little shorthand for common stuff, but that makes it harder to read in the file, so it's debatable, but it'll give us some more conditions to test next week, so I'll go ahead and do that. Control K, Control U. The third field, here we're going to try parse out the rating. So I put the rating as an S byte. So assigned byte reaches from negative 128 to 127, I believe, which is plenty to hold their 0 to 100, and then give us a negative value for invalid value. So here I do the same thing. I try to parse it. If it's not a success, or if the rating's greater than 100, so above the limit, or if the rating's less than -1, is that one right? Yeah. Or if the rating's less than -1, because -1's technically actually valid here, we throw a parsing exception. And then we just set the rate. The last one we have to deal with the optional field. So we say first, if the length is 5, we're good. Yeah. Then we grab the field, and then we do a replace here. So this is we're handling our escapes. So we were escaping the question marks, or the quotation marks. So this, we're fixing that. So we're taking anywhere there's a double quotation mark, making it a single quotation mark. And I had to check to make sure, but the replace method does all. Returns a new string in which all occurrences of a specified string in the current instance are replaced with another. So that does exactly what we want there. And finally, we return a movie. One thing else, so if the length's this, or fields.length is greater than 5, less than 4, or greater than 5. So 4 is valid, and 5 is valid, but nothing else. We'll run that one to make sure, because that's the kind of logic it's easy to mess up. We'll put a breakpoint here. We'll just step right over this. And let's go to locals, and we'll look at watch list, and there are three values. If you look here, this is because we added the toString, so there that appears all right. This one appears all right, and this one appears all right. Notice that it doesn't have the rating because it was -1, but it does show the review. So one thing might look a little odd here is there's 2 quotes here. That's actually intentional. If you look at the movie CSV, that's what I actually have here as well, is 2 quotes. So these 2 get replaced by a single one, so there's actually 2 there. So that one's actually right, even if it looks a little wrong. What else you could do there, instead of doing quotes, you could use a single quote there, and it would be perfectly valid. That doesn't give me a chance to play around with parsing. So that would be valid too, and that would be what you would actually probably recommend. But because we want to play around with parsing and then unparsing it, we'll leave it as 2 for now. But yeah, so there's their parser. So back over here in program, and go move that down. So now we just need to do our loop here. So as with the other program, we did a do loop, a do while. There we go. And there it's saying user selection is not valid, so we'll fix that. So this should look very familiar because it's exactly a copy of the line from the other program. We just do menu.getChoice, and the item is a menu item, and we just put it in the user selection. that brings us this switch statement. So let's show this. So what I did here, I just typed in switch, user selection, and that. So Visual Studio makes it really easy. All you have to do here is go to add missing cases. You can add a default, or you can add both. There we go. And that's all you have to do to create the values here. And you can see that's about as far as we made it. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and do this one. We'll do console.clear. So for each movie in watch list, console.writeLine movie. And now press a key. That's all I had here, and then break. Yep. Now we've caught up. And we did this a whole lot quicker, so this may be hard to follow, so we'll see. But yeah, so there's just some movies. So we're gonna have to adjust this. We're gonna want some tabs here. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like that we are currently running. This was probably not what I wanted to do. Yeah, cancel. Just rerun. So there we go. There's just our menu. Type in 1. Yeah, you want to add a little bit of spacing there, but that looks all right to me. Pressing key to continue, and press 4 to, or we'll press 2. It does nothing. 3 does nothing. 4 exits. There we go. So there's this view all movies. Add a movie. Add a movie should be pretty easy as well. We'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. So we'll start with a console clear just like before. At the end, we'll do a press a key to key. What I'm thinking is maybe do a yeah, I'm trying to think. What I'm thinking is to just do this exact same thing here, but add some numbers and do a separate menu for it. Let's do that. So we'll say menu. So we'll use our own menu again. Add menu equals new for each. Oh no, that is not right. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm thinking of the toggle watched. I'm thinking of the next problem. This one's easy. This one will just say console.writeLine n/t. I don't think I have the /n there. /t. So that's a tab. So move over a tab number of spaces. Enter a movie title to add to the list. There, and let's make it a right. Now we'll do movie, new movie equals new. Movie.title equals console.readLine or empty string. So one thing I'm seeing right here is we're going to need to read. We're just going to need to write it out. So what we can do there is we can just use our parser here actually. So let's not do this. Let's do this slightly differently. So again, this may not be good usage. What we could do instead is have the movie have its information. So the movie have the different parsing methods. So you would then pass it to here, like pass it your new movie and pass it to a get title or title watched year whatever and have it do the logic there. We don't have to duplicate it. I'm just going to do it the this way here. I'm just going to pass it this method here and do it like that. But we could do it the other way as well. So we could do it as a move these methods here in the parser. We could move this functionality to the movie class and let it handle its own logic there for those. That could actually make sense too. Both of those designs could be alright. We'll do string line here though. So we'll do line equal this. We'll do console.read line. Or that. So there we go. So we've added that. Let's do a string builder. So we've used string builder a little bit. So it's just a more efficient way to build strings. So we'll say SB equals SB.append. So there we go. All right, so now we'll do the next one. Console dot right no SB dot append comma. So now we need the next field dot console dot write line /t enter the /t enter the year the movie released. SB.append console.read line. Or that. We're not going to do the parsing here. We'll just do the same thing here. Console.write line. Enter. Have you watched this movie before? YN. This should be right. This should be right. So here, this one's a little different. So we'll say var watched equals console.read line or this. So now SB.append. Oh, we also need to add a comma after this one. I think I seen the right suggestion there for a second. SB.append. Now we'll append this if watched. So if watched is oh. Yeah, it's a string. We handle invalid cases there, so we can just say that's this, whatever they added, I guess. Yeah, I don't need to be doing the reading here, yeah. I guess. No, let's do so if watched, we'll do a watch dot to lower we'll do a watched equals that. Now if watched equals yes, the registered was wrong. Then we'll do a SB.append true, comma, else I'm thinking default. Yeah, let's do it like this. So we haven't talked about this, but this says yes is the accept, no is the default. So any other value besides yes won't go in as the no here. So we'll just do it like that. That'll make it easier on the testing side of us, and I think that would actually be fine here for the purposes of what we're thinking about anyway. So let's see if we can't just do this a little easier. We'll just do that. Or I guess we could do it like this. If we wanted to do it one line, we could do it append watch.toLower equals y true, comma false, comma. There's just a one-liner. I probably actually like that one-liner better. So you could decide which one you like there, but I probably do like this one better in this case. We'll leave it at that. Next line, let's see. After that, we have rating. Console.write /t. Do you have a rating? If so, enter 1 to 100 or a -1 if you do not have a rating. That's very confusing, so let's workshop that. We'll just say enter a rating between 0 and 100 or a -1 if you do not have a rating. Or a -1 or no rating. There we go. We'll do it like that. Now we'll do sp.append console.readline, and we'll just see what they add there. All right. Finally, we have the review field. So the review field's a little special. So here, console.write /t, enter a review, or press enter. All right, so here, this one's special, so we'll say var string review equals console.readline. So why this one's special is we're going to have to do the parsing here, and we should just say this as strings. That's what I'm favoring at this point. So this is saying I'm use string. We've seen this before. Use string equals and give it a comparison of ignore case. So we could do that. Current culture, ignore case. So equivalent, probably, but more efficient, maybe. I'm not sure. So let's back to review though. So we're going to need to do this. So we look back at our CSV. We don't put the parentheses around it if it doesn't have a comma. So let's begin first. So if review contains comma. So that's a special case. So if it contains a comma, then we need to start by doing review equals review. Start by doing that. And now we need to do an inner one here. If review contains so if it contains that, then we need to do special handling. Then review equals review dot replace any of them with a double. And then we replace the entire thing at the end. And then we do sb.append review. No comma after this one. We put a comma after the other one. Now we need to do a sb.append here as well to add a comma. I think that suggestion was actually correct. There. I think this will do it. The last thing we need to do is we need to come down here and we need to do maybe this parser, parse line. Now we need to do sb dot to string var no movie. And then we can do a watch list dot add movie. There we go. Let's do F2 here, make that lowercase. Where did I do that? Oh, that doesn't need there. We'll say this one was new movie. There we go. All right. So one problem here is we need to actually reset the value. So at the end of this, after we read it, we need to do a console.write line just to give us some space for the next one. Move us to the next line. Like that. We'll do one here at the end as well. I think that'll give us what we want. So let's see what happens. Okay. So view all movies. There you go. We need to fix that. Add a movie. Go title. Star Wars Episode 1. The Phantom Menace. That's spelled right. And there we go. Enter the year. 99. We'll say yes to this one. We'll say we gave it. I haven't thought of this, so we'll just say 100 again. This is a review with a comma separating inside of it. Okay, so put the quotes around it, which is all right. I think that worked. That does not save because we don't have a save initiated yet. So yeah, I think that worked. We actually didn't need the new lines. I was wrong. So I guess the read line, I guess it should have made sense. So view all movies, add a movie, Star Wars episode 1, The Phantom Menace. 99. Yes, we'll just give them all 100. This is a comment with a comma inside. There we go. We'll go ahead and close. Let's see, so 2 bugs. So first off, up here we need to add a dollar around this. Add a /t there, so that fixes one bug. Other bug, we need to go to the movie class. Up here, I'm putting quotes around the movie. I don't think we need that. Oh, what was that? But yeah. Good. Alright, so almost. Let's go make one more adjustment. We do need a space, so we'll add a space. So there's a concatenation. Yeah, that looks better. Alright, there we go. Now we add a movie. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. 99. Yes, 100. This is a comment with a comma aside. View that. There we go. I think that works. Yeah. All right. So there we go. So there we made it a little progress, and this needs to be cleaned up probably. So we'll probably do that in the next one. Do a little bit more cleanup here. Do this just to spacing. All right. Yeah, so there we go. So we've got a start of a program. We've got a couple classes built out. The rider's not built out yet, but we've got some of the other ones. And yeah, I think that'll do it for now. So use this as a starting point and jump off into the next one, so we'll actually be able to add next time. So nothing new here, but going to reinforce what we've done a little bit before. So reinforce the here we're showing a file read all lines again. We skipped showed a skip, which is something we haven't seen before. Wrote our own light parser here with some rules we're going to need to test next time. So I think this sets us up nicely. So we'll say that's all. This has been programming with Shadow, episode 45, and we'll call it here. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.